Well, good morning again, everybody that's already been here for morning prayer on this lovely day on the 9th of May. And good day or good night to all of you who are listening at a different time and in a different place. Wonderful that we can gather together in meditation, in contemplation, in presence, in the same presence. So, having this sense now of gathering, imagining perhaps that we are sitting in a circle, and that there is an altar in the middle, and then on that altar there is a candle lit, and the light of the candle reflects on our faces. And we're aware of our breath, the flower fragrance of our own breath. Mingling with that of the flower fragrances of our companions across time and space. And we're aware that all these different breaths are part of the one breath. And we know that we sit in the presence of love. Love eternal. Measureless and timeless. And of love incarnate in the Christ present in us. And we know that we are in the presence of love as spirit, sacred and pure, moving amongst us. Within us, out from us. So without losing this tuning, this attunement, we're going to look today at a particular story which we were given in morning prayer, which is the story of Jesus, the boy Jesus in the temple, and the response of Mary, his mother in particular, but his parents in general. And I'd like to read this story and invite you to hear it with new years, not the new year, but new years. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival, according to the custom. After the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware of it. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house? But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. And I was meditating and reflecting on this passage and in preparation for this meditation this morning, it occurred to me, is this history or is this metaphor? Is it history or is it metaphor? And if it's metaphor, what is it trying to say? It seemed to me so unlikely as history that there was this 12-year-old boy. He's described as a boy, so it would appear that he's not being bar mitzvahed, if that was current then. And there he was, left in Jerusalem for 3 whole days. In fact, 4 days if you count the day that the parents traveled on. And where was he during that 3 days? In the temple courts, but did somebody feed him, or where did he sleep? Who looked after him? So I was left myself with the feeling of what is being conveyed to us in this story. And perhaps we can all approach it afresh today. I noted that it's a passage from the Gospel of Luke, and Alexander John Shire of Quadratus points out that the book of Luke is the 4th path of transformation, and it's about maturing in our journey. It's about the road that we travel and the transformational process that we go through to mature. And I noted that this is occurring just after Easter, when we have been so joyful over the resurrection. And here we're at Luke, looking at how we can deepen this within ourselves. And the story takes place on the road between Jerusalem and the Galilee. So, thinking about meaning, I noted that this is a story about relationship, about the relationship between mother and father and their child. It's a story about the heart. And for a whole day of travel, Mary and Joseph are not aware. They have not noticed that Jesus is not with them. they were not present to him, perhaps. When they become aware, they are very anxious, and they go back to Jerusalem, having looked for him in their party on the road, and they frantically look for him. And they're looking for 3 days. What agony. And eventually they find him in the temple. And they remonstrate with him. Mary remonstrates with him. And he says, "Where did you expect me to be?" But in the temple. So I'd like to suggest that we take this as the story of ourself and the Christ within. That are we aware to the presence of the Christ within? Are we traveling the road of our spiritual growth and development and experience? And have we forgotten? When we become aware, we're anxious, we look everywhere, looking for where might this Christ, this divinity be. And eventually we find the Christ in the temple of the heart, the temple within. And the Christ says to us, "But where did you expect to find me but in this interior sacred space?" And we're told that when they together go back on the road, Luke's road to maturation, Mary treasures this in her heart. She has a concentration on the treasure that is in her heart. So I invite us to reflect on this passage with, perhaps, if you accept them, some of these suggestions that I have made. And I'm going to read the passage again. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival, according to the custom. After the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. But they were unaware of it. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he said. "Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart, and Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. So let's be with the story, and the story be with us as we allow it to immerse itself within us. And I'd like to add an image to our contemplation. Tim, may I screen share, please?
Sure. Okay, should be now.
Thank you, Tim. So this is a modern version of an icon, which is called Our Lady of the Sign. And it seems to me to speak to something of the story that we've just been sharing. According to Rowan Williams, it's one of the very earliest of images and found on the walls of catacombs. And it's a picture of the Christ hidden within Mary, the one who incarnates him. He makes the point, Rowan Williams, that sometimes the Christ is hidden even from us, like the Christ was hidden from Mary in the story, and his parents. But sometimes our awareness of the Christ is achieved through an opening in the heart when we are opened by joy or suffering, by disappointment or a sense of inadequacy or lack of anything. And it seems to me that this story is about that. It's about the movement of the heart as the awareness comes to Mary and Joseph, and anxiety mounts, and their heart is torn open at the thought that they've lost their child. They know who he is. And then that relief on finding him where he was always going to be, in the temple, in the most sacred place. So let us join with Mary, feeling this presence of the Christ within, made present in our heart's movement, suffering, or joy. And Rowan Williams speaks of the awe, that it is to have the reality of the Christ within, the Christ praying to the Father flowing to the Son, a presence, an awe. And leaving the image there up for a little bit longer, I'd like to read Psalm 103 in a different version than we had today in morning prayer, where God in this version is addressed as you. My soul is for your blessing, all that is within me. A blessing for your nameless holiness. My soul is for your blessing and remembers your gifts. Who forgives everything, who heals all diseases, who redeems life from death, who makes a sovereign crown of kindness and mercy, who awakens the spirit so that time's refreshed and grows back like an eagle's feather, who brings justice to the unfairly treated, who makes known your ways to Moses, our teacher, and acts in the lives of the strugglers, who is kind, who is gracious, steadfast and faithful, who doesn't contend forever but lets anger slip away, whose gifts are gracious and fortuitous, whose generosity is blind to our shortcomings. As high as heaven is above the earth, so far, so wide is your kindness to us who seek to know you. As far as east is from west, so far, so distant have you removed us from our limitations. As a parent loves a child freely and unsurpassingly, so have you loved us. For you know who we are. You remember we are dust, our days like grass. We bloom like the flowers of the field when only a wind passes over them. They are gone and the field forgets them. But your kindness stretches from forever to forever. Your rightness flows down through the generations to those who keep faith with you, to those who walk your ways. You establish your throne in the center of things. Your kingdom embraces all. Blessings to you from the mighty angels who carry out the messages of your words. Blessings to you from the surrounding hosts, from the servants who build up your works. Blessings to you from all that you have made and are, in all the places, throughout all the times. My soul is for your blessing. My soul is for your blessing. My soul is for your blessing. Amen.